আসসালামু আলাইকুম, শুভ সন্ধ্যা। এটিএন বাংলা ইউকের এখনকার আয়োজন এডুকেশন আওয়ার আপনাদেরকে স্বাগত। আমি সিরাজুল বাসির চৌধুরী আপনাদেরকে শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি। আমরা চলে আসলাম এক সপ্তাহ পর নতুন টপিক নিয়ে কথা বলার জন্য। আমাদের আজকের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। আমি আবার রিপিট করতেছি, মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। সো মেন্টাল হেলথ এবং ওয়েলবিংয়ের যে বিষয়টা আমরা বাংলায় বলতে পারি মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য এবং সুস্থতা। তো মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য এবং সুস্থতার বিষয় নিয়ে কথা বলবো, বিশেষ করে আমাদের স্টুডেন্ট যারা ভেরি ইয়াং স্টুডেন্ট, স্কুল থেকে শুরু করে প্রাইমারি স্কুল, সেকেন্ডারি স্কুল, কলেজ, ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যারা পড়তেছে, লট অফ দেম আর সাফারিং ফ্রম মেন্টাল হেলথ ইলনেসেস। আমরা জানি যে মানসিক স্বাস্থ্যের ব্যাপারটা একটা গুরুত্বপূর্ণ বিষয়। বাচ্চারা, ইয়াং বাচ্চারা, স্টুডেন্টরা সাফার করে, বিভিন্ন কারণে সাফার করে। আমরা এর আগেও প্রোগ্রাম করেছি, বাট রিসেন্টলি যেটা সার্ভেতে এসেছে, লটস অফ ইউনিভার্সিটি স্টুডেন্টস during their study they are suffering and they do not have enough support due to lack of maybe funding, lack of maybe the programs or whatever you can say, the university or government initiative. So আজকের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। আপনারা যারা প্রোগ্রাম দেখতেছেন, বিশেষ করে আপনাদের ছেলেমেয়েরা যারা পড়ালেখা করতেছে, প্লিজ do listen to our program. We have very good guests today. We have guests from university and one person also, I would say, who finished university and also working in this particular field, and we have got also another professional who is working in this area for a long time. So our topic is mental health and well-being. আসুন তাহলে পরিচিত হই আমার সম্মানিত চারজন অতিথির সাথে। On my right, Fahana Malik, Outreach Manager, Inspirited Minds. Am I right?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And good evening. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good.
Thank you very much for coming, and I'm very glad to have you on the show. After whole day work, you are sitting with me.
Yes, I am. I actually went to a research conference earlier on, and now I'm here.
Okay, so we'll talk about maybe research if it is about mental health. I know you work in this arena. That's very good. Welcome to Education Hour. On my far right, a student from Queen Mary University, Shahjahan Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank
Only
you for
good?
having me here.
I always ask students whether it's good, not very good.
Could be better.
Could be better. That's very good. So nice to see you here on our program about mental health and well-being.
Thank you.
Thank you. On my left, who was here before, and I have the privilege to introduce her again, Fahmida Hussain, student, but she finished her university. I would say former student from Queen Mary University. Assalamu alaikum and good evening.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Nice to see you after maybe a year. Last
Yes,
year you
in a
came to
year.
talk about mental health.
Yep.
Nice to see you. You're still smiling after whole day work.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good. Welcome to Education Hour. And finally, on my far left, I have got another special guest from university who is studying at Queen Mary University, Fatmata Bah. Yeah, if I say it. Middle name. How do you say your middle name again?
Uri.
Uri. I find really difficult, but my apology. If I say Fatmata, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much, and welcome to Education Hour.
Thank you.
And assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you very much. So today we have chosen this particular program for four of you. Actually, you are a very special guests. Mental health and well-being. As you are working as outreach manager, Inspirited Minds, and I had chance to look at your website. I will mention a few things from your website. I have some printout here as well. So when you say mental health, how can you define mental health? If someone asks, give a definition of mental health. What is it?
It's really hard to put it into one definition, but if you were to think of everything as part of your life being associated mental health, that is mental health. So your physical health, your social health, your psychological health, which is like your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, what you do, and then your spiritual health would be a part of your mental health because it's a part of your day-to-day life. That's what would be a part of your mental health. A lot of people think mental health is like, oh, you think, oh, you're feeling a certain way, when in actual fact, your physical health is a part of your mental health because it's going to impact how you feel and how you think.
So mental health. What is a mental health? Everybody has mental health, isn't it?
Everyone has mental health.
But when you talk about mental health illnesses, that can be very negative, isn't it?
Very, very negative.
In which way?
So a lot of people fear away from mental health illnesses or difficulties. Mental health in actual, that term is seen quite negatively as well, when in actual fact it smiling or being happy is a part of your mental health, and that's a positive aspect.
Yes.
But not a lot of people think that mental health has a positive aspect. They think that there is a stigma attached to it and it's very negative. Whereas with mental health illnesses, there is a number of people of color, the Muslim community, who do have diagnostic they're diagnosed with mental health illnesses, and at the same time, or in a different light, they might have mental health difficulties, and those are encapsulated in depression or feeling low or feeling anxious
Yes.
or stressed, and it can escalate very quickly. So it's important to identify it first and
the
foremost.
issues, actually, the illnesses or difficulties. As you mentioned very right way, when you hear the word mental health, people see it in a negative way. But everybody has mental, that can be in a happy moment, in a happy way, isn't it? But there are negative side of it, obviously. But you mentioned about the people, but people from different arenas. I mean, not only Muslims, not only, I would say, from this society, that's why everybody can suffer from mental health, isn't it? Do you agree with that?
Of course, everyone. It doesn't discriminate. Any one of us in the UK, around the world, can suffer from mental health, and we know that the second most common disease is depression in the world.
We will talk today about depression, definitely. Fahmida Hussain, I know you have keen interest on this particular issue, and I'm really happy to have you on the show. Now, when you hear mental health illnesses, say as a British Bangladeshi person, a student, obviously in our society, when people hear, what kind of negative thinking people, have about mental health when they hear in our community, as a family, as a student, as a British Bangladeshi student?
Yeah. So for example, with us kids, young children growing up in the community, we'd see mental health as something which is not as an issue. But with our parents, for example, they've been brought up with a sort of a different they've been brought up with a different way of thinking in terms of mental health. So they have a bit more, they think of mental health as being a bit more negative. So if you have any sort of mental health related condition, they might think you have some sort of how we have those whole superstition within Islam, even in Islam, although we're not meant to believe in superstition, but still within the Bengali community, they still take on that thought on superstition really strongly, if that makes sense. So they think of anything to do with mental health. They don't think about the fact that mental health can be a good thing and a bad thing. They just assume that anything related to mental health is all bad.
Yes. So when they think about mental health, they probably, our community people, father and mother, or mothers and fathers, they probably think this is they have stereotype thinking, isn't it? Kind of stigma. And, okay, this is in a very negative way. And if someone has issues with mental health or illnesses, this is something very, very bad. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works within it.
Now we talked about the society. Now I'll come to you, Shahjahan. Have you heard what Fahmida mentioned about in our community? Why do people in our community living in this country, they think in this way?
I think it stems from the values and cultural norms that we instill in ourselves.
Yes.
And that is obviously when our parents do come over here, they still strongly hold on to these. And within a community, we have to look at the type of message that is being conveyed. For example, men themselves are less inclined to talk about mental health because it's something which is seen to be outside of their norms and values, or a stereotypical image of what a man should talk about or shouldn't, or what a man should suffer from or what a man shouldn't suffer from. And we need to explore mental health in a wider, more generalistic way. So whenever we get a stomachache, we do go to the doctors. Or whenever we break a bone, we do go to the hospital. We do get that repaired. But when we do have an issue of the mind, we tend to not see it as being actionable. We don't go to seek help. We just let that sort of spiral down, and it goes to a point where we don't know who to turn to.
Right.
And what we need to do is make sure that this issue of mental health, or this topic or conversation, is something that can be talked about freely. And one of the ways we try and do this as students is to introduce the idea of mental health, or talking about the topic, within an educational setting.
Right.
I would love to do it with younger individuals, but however, I'm in university, so I thought I'd take that setting itself and talk to students about mental health. And we do have a mental health society, which
even at the university,
within the university itself. So Uthman has set it up, And the Mental Health Society, which I'm a part of as well, looks at the idea of mental health and it explores it, and it provides a safe space, and it provides a space, a comfort space, so people can talk about it, discuss it, and seek help as well. So we try and destigmatize.
Okay, we'll
mental
come
health.
to that. I mean, solution about this. I know
Yeah.
the support, but basically we need to find out there are issues around, and then obviously, as you mentioned, in a right way, definitely universities they have some kind of support. We will talk about that
Yeah.
later on. Okay, Fatmata, if I come to you now, young people from school to universities, there are students that suffer from mental health. I'm not saying you don't have to mention any particular way about a person or about anybody. You don't have to mention name. Have you ever come across in your university a friend, a classmate who has been suffering from mental illnesses, and did you have a chance to talk to a person like that? You don't have to mention name.
Yeah, I'll say an example of myself, I would say.
Yourself. Okay,
Yes,
absolutely.
because when I moved to the UK, like I had so much pressure on me
Right.
initially, and like especially with the academic work and in keeping up with the standards, like I need to make my dad proud, and I remember that he's paying a lot of money, so that pressure, and then everything was just so new to me. So during that I developed anxiety so much, which
Anxiety,
actually affected my performance in school. Yeah, so like I really had to work really hard on that. So yeah, I say personally that affected me, and generally I see like people go through mental illness, but sometimes people can't identify it. Initially I really don't know like what was wrong with me, like I couldn't explain to anyone, and because of the stigma also it
Yes,
is there, of
attached to
course the
that.
stigma is attached to that. Like for us like Muslims, generally like they will think that maybe it is something that has to do with jinn or something like that. So like unless like unless when I went to like societies and like organization programs, and then I heard about it and I knew, oh, I'm suffering from this is the cause, and then like I started finding solutions for myself and then adjusting myself. So basically that's what happened.
So you gave two good examples about yourself and also what you can see in the society. Definitely. প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা কথা বলছি আমাদের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং, মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য এবং সুস্থতা, এই সমস্ত বিষয় নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলতেছি। আমরা জানি মেন্টাল হেলথ, মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য যদি খারাপ হয়ে যায় তখন মানুষ সাফার করে। বিশেষ করে কলেজ, ইউনিভার্সিটি, স্কুলে অনেক বাচ্চারা মানসিক স্বাস্থ্যের ব্যাপারে সাফার করতেছে এবং বিভিন্ন ব্যাপার, বিভিন্ন ইস্যুগুলো এখানে আসতেছে। পার্টিকুলারলি লাস্ট একটা রিপোর্ট আসছে ইউনিভার্সিটিতে, যেখানে সাপোর্ট পাইতে বাচ্চারা মানে স্টুডেন্টরা 12 উইকস পর্যন্ত ডিলে হচ্ছে। এই বিষয়টা অত্যন্ত জরুরি। আপনারা যদি কোনো মন্তব্য, কোনো প্রশ্ন, প্লিজ ডু অ্যান্ড আস্ক. If you have any comments, if you would like to share any experience, please do with our viewers and with our guests as well. So, Ami Farhana Malik, okay, I would like, if I ask you, I mean, if you try to see different types of mental health issues, you know, or illnesses. I know you are working as outreach manager. Definitely, you have seen many types. So I would like to hear from you. You have experience during your job, like, or you have supported those people, or during your research and during your meeting workshop, you have found out about different types of mental illnesses. I would like to hear from you.
Okay, so I'm guessing you want to find out what it looks like in person?
And also the types, different types of, as you mentioned
Different
about the depression is one type, maybe,
Yeah.
We'd like to hear
So
that.
there's several different
Yes,
types
yes,
of
sure.
mental health difficulties, mental health illnesses. The most common ones are depression and anxiety, and there is
What's the depression and anxiety? If you elaborate that, I would like to hear that.
Depression is a constant feeling of sadness, lack of pleasure in doing things that you used to find enjoyable, not sleeping properly, so either sleeping too much, sleeping too little, eating too much or eating too little, not being able to concentrate, probably having feelings about not living anymore. There are various symptoms, and it's important for you to go to your GP and get assessed to see whether you can get further support. So that's depression. Anxiety, again, is quite similar. You're feeling quite anxious to do a certain activity or a certain thing. So you might be leaving the house, probably anxiety around study, so not feeling able to carry out any assignments, feeling quite tense all the time, maybe getting shoulder pains. I know that in the South Asian community, we somaticize a lot of our mental health difficulties. So we tend to say, oh, I've got a physical pain, when in actual fact, there's an underlying mental health issue. So anxiety and depression are very common ones. Stress is definitely a common one that I think is affected by many people. Other common mental health difficulties are like psychosis, so schizophrenia. So that's when you perceive your reality in a different way that other people don't. So that's like hallucinating, hearing voices, and a lot of people would associate schizophrenia with jinn possession. But it's important, again, to seek help from your GP because it might not be jinn possession, and also seek help from a raqi or an imam who can also support you on the spiritual side. So those are the most common ones that I've come across. There are other ones as well, but I don't like to use the term because I don't favour the term, and one of the terms that we use for this diagnosis is personality disorder. Right. But again,
depending person to person, it varies.
It varies, and the most common symptoms in this diagnosis is depression and anxiety. So that's the one that the NHS and the psychological therapy service focus on. And one thing to mention is that we have free therapy that's offered by the NHS. So when you go to your GP and you talk to them about these problems, whether if it's physical health or mental health, your GP will assess you and then refer you to the talking therapy service, and in that therapy service you can receive therapy for free, and not many people know about that, so I thought I'd put that in so everyone knows.
So you mentioned about depression, anxiety, eating disorder. Did you mention that as well?
I didn't mention eating disorders, but eating disorders is definitely something that's on the rise, especially in university students. I've noticed that eating disorders is definitely on the rise, and body issues and identity issues as well is something that is on the rise amongst our youth.
Fahmida, I'll come to you whether you can answer this. I mean, I know you're working towards. I mean, have you experienced working with any person with mental health issues?
Working with people, well, I've actually met a lot of people during my time at university as well. Not necessarily all in university, but some outside of university. Absolutely, as well. And so I've met a lot of people. It's crazy actually, because the way it seems like, it's like they're very scared to share how they feel.
Yes.
And they shouldn't feel like that, but yeah.
So what kind of signs of or symbols you can notice of a mental health sufferer?
Like, for example, I've seen a few people, and they'll always be like, you'll find them always away from everyone. Like, they prefer being a bit away from everyone because they're almost like happy with just being around themselves. But it's not even that they're happy by being around themselves.
Right.
Like, it's almost like they're punishing themselves for something, if that makes sense. So you'll always find them isolated. They also tend to lose focus easily. That's another thing I seem to have noticed quite a bit. Okay.
Shajan, she mentioned a couple of signs and symbols. Can you mention a few just that you notice or you come across someone who you have heard suffering from mental health illnesses?
I mean, rather than someone heard, as individuals where we have a lot of relations with one another, sometimes you notice one of your friends who isn't as they were, or sometimes they're rather quieter than they usually are, or they're not themselves. I think the onus is on ourselves to really find out, as a friend who truly cares, to find out if they're okay. Because young people don't tend to reach out or talk about these personal issues. So to look out for these signs, sometimes you notice behavioral changes or physical changes or sort of routine changes, and maybe looking into whether that person is okay. Is there anything they might want to talk about?
What I will do, I will come back to after the short break, and then I'll discuss with you. What I will say goodbye to you from the first segment, and then after second segment you will join us again. Is that okay? প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা কথা বলছি আমাদের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। আমাদের একটা ছোট্ট বিরতি যেতে হবে, বিরতির পর আবার দেখা হচ্ছে, আমাদের সাথেই থাকবেন। প্রিয় দর্শক, বিরতির পর আবার এডুকেশন আওয়ারে আমরা কথা বলছি আমাদের আজকের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। আমি আবার রিপিট করতেছি, মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং, মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য এবং সুস্থতা, এই বিষয় নিয়ে কথা বলতেছি আমরা জানি এই দেশে অনেক লোক সাফার করতেছে, ফ্যামিলি, ওল্ড, ইয়াং, অনেকেই সাফার করে মানসিক স্বাস্থ্যের যে বিভিন্ন ধরনের নেগেটিভ সাইড এই বিষয়ে। বিশেষ করে স্টুডেন্টরা nowadays they suffer a lot, very young age to universities. So we are talking to young people university students and also some professionals about mental health. আপনারা যদি কিছু শেয়ার করতে চান এই ব্যাপারে প্লিজ ডু শেয়ার এনি আইডিয়াস, এনি টিপস, এনি এক্সপিরিয়েন্স, এনি কোয়েশ্চেন্স you can ask. So our topic mental health and well-being. So we have a new guest now. She joined with us. It's a very privilege to introduce Warisa Hussain, outreach worker, mental health and in-spirited minds. Am I right?
That's right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for coming and giving your valuable time. Welcome to Education Hour. Before break, we were talking about, what was it? I asked you a very particular question about when we came from symptom to some kind of stereotype stigma, isn't it?
So we were talking about our friends and have we ever worked
Yes.
or engaged
Absolutely
with anyone with mental
engaged,
health?
yes.
So I was going off on the tangent where the onus is on ourselves in looking after our friends and family, and I was just to reiterate talking about behavioural changes, routine changes, physical changes, and how these can be sort of identifiable factors to someone who may potentially have a problem they want to talk about, but they don't necessarily know how to approach it or who to talk to.
Right.
So maybe as myself, it might be that it's my responsibility to some extent to see if my friends are okay, because maybe one of them hasn't spoken in 2 weeks or hasn't said anything or
Very good point.
communicated, or one of them who's not eating or who tends to not eat when everyone's eating, even though that was what we used to do. So yeah, I was just going through on that point.
Thank you very much. Fatmata, if I come to you, I mean, I know we're talking about a lot of issues in a negative way about mental health. There are very positive side as well, as Farhana earlier mentioned. But definitely we will be talking about negative side today because we want to find some solutions, some support. Those people are suffering from mental health illnesses or issues relating with their mental health, anything we can support and anything we can help with. Now, in the community sometimes people believe in black magic, some kind of ghosting, cultural negative kind of connotations and elements relating to this. So how can you raise awareness within the community? I'm talking about any community, any cultural community, because this is a country, it's a diverse country, it's a multicultural society. How can you raise awareness to understand, yes, this is the issue of mental health, we have to support this person?
I think that first of all, we all should know that family is the primary agent of socialization, and then family has a big role to play on that. So like you need to notice what is happening with your kids first of all. Like you need to notice their behavior, and also the school also has a responsibility.
Good.
Like for universities, we do have societies, we do have organizations that do provide mental health support.
Yes.
But then also in schools, like the teacher might notice that a particular student likes to sit at the back, doesn't like to talk in class, and then you notice some changes in behavior. So like you need to like help the student with that. And also we do have organizations like that do help kids, like XLP mentoring, like they match you with a student, and then like you mentor the kid for a year, like you help them not just with their mental well-being but also with their physical well-being, with their academic work. I think that is very good also for the society. Yeah.
So something we need to look for rather than, you know, thinking about kind of a way, like cultural way. We have to give the proper sort of support, isn't it? So we have to talk to the relevant, you know, the support who can provide this.
Provide the support,
yeah, absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. Now, Warisa Hussain, I know you are working as outreach worker in mental health sections. Your association, not association, yeah, it's an in-spirited minds. That's very good. So something is happening in this country. It's recent, and I know you will take on board as well. UK students waiting up to 3 months for mental health care. University data shows long delays raising fears among people's mental welfare will decline in the interim. So why people, when they diagnose something, why they have to wait for 3 months to get proper support? What are the issues? Why is that is happening?
I think it depends on how early people acknowledge that there is something wrong or they need professional help. In most cases, people are either in denial or they don't acknowledge that there's something mentally wrong with them.
The person himself or herself.
Or the family members, they might be in denial. Or for example, we're talking about young people. In most cases, it's difficult for a parent to acknowledge that there's something wrong with my child. And in most cases, children are unable to explain their emotions. So they'll complain of headaches or stomach aches, for example. And then the parents will maybe take them to a doctor.
Right.
But the root cause may be psychological, or maybe children who are experiencing stress at school.
Right.
Or they're going through exams and they're experiencing some form of anxiety.
Right.
They may not be able to disclose this to their parents or family members for various reasons. They may either confide in a friend, or if the school environment is supportive, then they'll be able to discuss it with their teacher. But by the time they do acknowledge that there's something wrong, when the anxiety or symptoms of depression, they reach a point where the daily functioning is being affected,
Right.
then the family comes in and then they show concern, and then they make an appointment with the GP. Then GP does carry out their assessments. And yes, there may be delays in making an appointment, because there are thousands and thousands of people who are trying to get an appointment for example, counseling or psychotherapy through
Yes.
NHS. And in Britain alone, there are like over 300,000 young people suffering from anxiety.
300,000.
300,000 young people were
Huge
suffering
numbers.
from huge number. So depression and anxiety is quite common, and it is said that 1 out of every 5 young people, someone will be suffering from some form of mental illness.
Right.
So the statistics are quite high, and by the time they go for a referral, so it's understandable that there may be delays, but that does not mean that one should not approach the GP at all or not seek professional help, because help is out there.
Yeah, your GP anytime you can go and discuss the issues.
Definitely,
Yes.
and they will be able to refer you to psychological therapies department. If they feel that you need medications, they'll be able to help you with that. If the children, like the child's parent, they need some form of counseling, and the family needs to be involved, and they'll make sure that the parents are also involved. The school teachers, head teachers are involved, and the school looks after that child.
Yes.
So help is out there, and there may be delays, which is understandable, but that does not mean that
Yes.
they will not get the help that they
Right.
require.
So there are different agencies. You mentioned GP, you mentioned about school, outside agencies. Yeah.
There is child adolescent mental health services.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, I would like to ask Farhana, you are outreach manager, big post, obviously, Inspirited Minds. I would like to hear about your project. What kind of support do you do in order to help those people that are suffering from mental health illnesses, young people, old, it doesn't matter who they are, any clients?
So we have 2 types of platforms where we help others in the community. So
Yes.
it's our support team, where we provide counselling through Skype, telephone, and in person. And anyone can access this through our online website, and then just click on the get help button and ask for some support. We have support workers as well who they can message online if they require someone to speak to, because we know that in person it's really hard to speak about mental health issues, and when it's quite anonymized, they're more likely to speak about mental health difficulties that they're suffering from. My team, alhamdulillah, we cover a range of community settings. So we run workshops on mental health awareness and training to mosques, to imams, to chaplains. We run it to community organizations, and we also run it in schools, so training up teachers and parents about how to respond to a young person who's probably demonstrating symptoms or showing symptoms of mental health difficulties. And the last area that we do work on is university students. So we train them on welfare training and train them about how to spot the signs and symptoms of mental health difficulties and how to respond to them, because a lot of people, when they see signs of distress or signs of someone acting or behaving in a way that's unusual, they tend to behave in a way that makes the symptoms worse. So we try and equip the students who attend our training in a way that they respond more sensitively, more effectively, and show that empathy towards them, so they are more likely to talk about their mental health difficulties.
This is great, what support you provide, but do you do any kind of workshop to raise awareness among family members or moms and dads or other people within the community?
Yes, so one of the areas that we focus on is community. Community organizations encourages people in the community to attend. So we've had parents and fathers and siblings to come into our workshops. However, we are still struggling to have people come to these workshops because the term mental health is something that's very stigmatized, and they're like, no, my child doesn't go through this. I don't have mental health issues, so I don't need to go. So it's something about, you know, the organization, the community working in a way that we frame mental health in a way that it's not something that they are scared of approaching.
অথবা বুতে দইলে সিলেটি কই জেলা গিরে বুতে দইলে যে তাবিজ দিলাও একটা তাবিজ দিলে কমে যাব sorry I just spoke in Bengali. It's about like you go there straightforward solution. Yeah, rather than any kind of consultation, going to GP or talking to the experts and this sort of thing, something we need to really think about. On that note, can I take a call? Assalamu alaikum দর্শক, পরিচিত কোনো মন্তব্য, কোনো প্রশ্ন? Please, you are live on air. Yes.
It's Afsana Khalek.
Hello. Yeah. Do you have any comments or any questions to the panel?
Sure. Can I just say hi to Shah and all these other speakers, Fahmida? They're doing great work.
Thank you. Would you like to? Yeah.
I just wanted to say to especially Fahmida, who's doing some great work around mental health and using the social care worker platform to get a raise awareness about it, which is something really great. And hi Fatmata.
Hi.
Yes.
It's Afsana Khalek from Citizen UK.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Fahmida will be coming back during the third segment, but thank you very much. You are watching our program, and I'm sure that you have interest in this particular area as well. Am I right? Thank you very much. Thank you. So caller is very happy to watch both of you as well as Fahmida. She mentioned about, she praised Fahmida with her good work she is doing. Now, Fatmata, if I come to you, universities, we mentioned about the issues with funding, delaying. What kind of, I mean, I know you probably will touch on that as well. Within, there are, young people can suffer from one kind of mental illnesses. Yeah. But adults, might have a different thing, isn't it? A family may be suffering from sort of, financial issues. That can be one type. Young people may be exam, or maybe looking for jobs or friendship. I mean, they're different, aren't they? Different types of anxieties, isn't it? When you think about the anxieties, take on board. I mean, different people can suffer with different types of anxieties, not the same.
So it's different situations, but we have similar feelings.
Yes.
So innately, everyone as humans, regardless if you're a young kid or an older adult, you still suffer from anxiety, and it's not a bad thing. Anxiety has the function of, keeping us safe. But if it's prolonged anxiety, then that could become very, very dysfunctional, and it could become unhealthy. So with these contexts that you've mentioned, they are different, and it's about what life stage individuals are. So as an adult, you're going to probably go for financial responsibilities. There's probably more responsibilities. And as a young, university student, you are probably going to go through exam stress. So what I'm trying to point out here is that the anxiety and the stress is the same as everyone else. It's just a different context.
But is there any way early symptoms can be diagnosed, or can be noticed before a person goes in sort of deep mental health illness?
So it's about identifying when that person shows a different, like if they behave in a way that's not usual. So as Shah mentioned, if that person isn't eating and they usually used to eat before, or if they're not coming to the societies or sports clubs and they stop suddenly, that's going to make you wonder, what's happened? So it's important for you to check up on that. So any type of behavior that was there before and is not there, that's a sign and a symptom for a person to question what has happened to them.
Right, definitely, you mentioned earlier. Shahjan, in your university and other universities as well, I'm not talking about only universities, do you think there are enough support for students? And if there are support, what kind of support they provide?
Within universities
Not
itself,
only your one. Have you heard of other universities as well? I'm talking about.
generally, having spoken to other individuals,
But you have friends from various universities, isn't it?
I do, and there isn't enough mental health support officers. So within a university setting where you have
Is it because of
15
funding?
The university itself makes a lot of money. So generally, rather than funding, we have to look at the importance a university places on mental health as opposed to others. it's something which isn't emphasized enough as it should be. And we have to consider as well how young people interact with one another. Agents of secondary socialization is huge among young people, more so important than primary socialization. So they're always on their social media, always on online platforms, always comparing one another, and that's somewhat emphasized or exasperated within a university setting where everyone's on an online platform doing everything, and a certain image is always sort of portrayed, and that's the image that they want to sort of attain, which they can't, and that can lead to some difficulties as well with a person who may suffer from an illness. So we've had social media trends where you have people trying to attain a certain waist measurement or a thigh sort of gap, and these things are very toxic because it instills in a young person that this is the image that they should actually strive towards, and it's unattainable. It's something which is rather I mean, young people see it as they should go for this because it's on social media, it's advertised, it's something that's normal and something that we should do. But I believe that agents of secondary socialization, which involves the social media heavily, is somewhat responsible for the rise in mental health, because we are always comparing one another.
Yes.
We're always seeing these ideas of perfection which don't exist, or these ideas of we should get this, or we should do this, or some person has done this and why aren't we doing it? And I think tackling that, especially when we cast back to the age of technology, where young people now have mobile phones from the ages of 10, when if you cast back to when we were young kids, we never had that. So it is in a sense secondary socialization which has led to a large increase in the rise in mental health.
Thank you very much. You mentioned a very important point here. Now, do you agree with what he said?
Yes, I do.
Yes, do. I'll say goodbye to you in a couple of minutes' time, but I would like to hear from you. Those students, young people, or any families that watching program tonight, what would you like to say to them about mental health?
The thing that I would like to say to students out there is that mental health is an issue. Like, don't be afraid to tell your parents about it. Don't be afraid to tell anyone about it. Communicate to people about it, and then like it can be solved. That is what I can tell students. Like, I know that like there's a lot of pressure, academic work, and then all of that, but then you can go through it. You can do it. That is the information I have for students.
Thank you very much for coming and sharing your thoughts and ideas about mental health. প্রিয় দর্শক, আমাদের একটা ছোট্ট বিরতি যেতে হবে, বিরতির পর আবার দেখা হচ্ছে, আমাদের সাথেই থাকবেন। প্রিয় দর্শক, বিরতির পর আবার এডুকেশন আওয়ারে আমরা কথা বলছি। আমাদের আজকের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। আমি আবার রিপিট করতেছি, মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং। সো মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য এবং সুস্থতা বিষয় নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলতেছি। আমরা জানি আমাদের কমিউনিটিতে লট অফ ইয়ং পিপল অ্যান্ড অলসো ফ্যামিলিজ, ওল্ড, ইয়াং, অ্যাডাল্টস, all of us in some point, 1 in 5 we mentioned here, or 1 in 4 will come to this, suffer from mental health issues. আমরা কথা বলতেছি যেহেতু স্টুডেন্টদের, আমাদের এডুকেশনের বিষয়টা হলো ইম্পর্টেন্ট, বিকজ উই নিড টু সাপোর্ট আওয়ার স্টুডেন্টস, ইয়াং পিপল, ইয়োর চিলড্রেন, আওয়ার চিলড্রেন, from school to universities, because different kind of suffering, depression, anxieties, different kind of disorders সাফার করতেছে। আমরা কীভাবে সাহায্য করতে পারি? আপনাদের কোনো মন্তব্য, কোনো প্রশ্ন, কোনো ধরনের কোনো এক্সাম্পল যদি শেয়ার করতে চান, প্লিজ ডু। আমাদের সাথে চারজন অতিথি এখানে আছে। অন মাই ফার রাইট শাহজাহান আহমেদ ফ্রম কুইন মেরি ইউনিভার্সিটি, অন মাই ফার রাইট on my right Farhana Malik, outreach manager, in Spirited Minds. I like the name of this particular project. And on my left here, Warisa Hussain, outreach worker, mental health, and the same project in Spirited Minds. And on my far left, who is sitting here far left, Fahmida Hussain, our very known person anyway. Now, this is a very good topic, and we are discussing, we will talk in a couple of months' time again about this. Warisa, if I come to you, I know we are talking about the different kind of issues. Here, I know you mentioned about depression. Depression is now among the leading causes of disability in the young people. I mean, this is something huge, different kind of suffering from depression. So I know during the first segment we mentioned about different causes. So So what are other causes can you think of mental health?
There are several causes for various forms of mental illnesses, and I would like to mention that by the time someone reaches the age of 18, 75% of mental illness has already been established in a person, in an individual.
Right.
So the onset can be pretty early in life. It can go back to childhood. In regards to causes, there's not one specific cause, but there can be multiple causes. It could be biological, for example, some chemical imbalance in the brain, or some deficiency in a specific nutrient in the body. It could be financial, like you mentioned earlier on. It could be the home environment.
Within the family.
Within the family, stressful situations, arguments within the family, some form of abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, or even online abuse and exploitation of children can lead to certain illnesses. Or it could be neglect. A child is not getting the attention and the care that the child deserves, whether in school or at home. Then bullying is another issue. It can also add to a lot of behavioral or developmental changes within a child or young person. There are several causes, but how we can find out whether this person is suffering from some form of mental illness is through the symptoms that the person shows. And like Sister Farhana mentioned just now, change in sleeping habits, sleeping pattern. In children, it could be bedwetting, for example, having nightmares, or showing tantrums, or being too clingy, or being too detached or socially inhibited, not socializing with others, difference or change in eating habits, for example, losing appetite or overeating, comfort eating. Similarly, like becoming dependent on drugs or medications, or just substance abuse in general, which is another issue in our community. And children and young people, they find it difficult to disclose about their personal struggles or thoughts with their parents or siblings, so they end up not discussing it with anyone, and that just adds up to the problem. And it's only when the child shows major symptoms, then only people kind of within the family or school realize that there is something going on. And sometimes depression can even lead to suicidal ideation.
Yes.
And we can see that in Britain, the rate of suicide amongst young people is the highest among 30-year-olds. So that's another thing which is quite,
You mentioned few, and also on your website I have seen few things: continuously feeling sad or being in a low mood, low self-esteem, those sort of things, feeling tearful and hopeless.
Hopelessness and helplessness, that's what leads to depression in most cases. This is why it is recommended that if someone's feeling low, then it's good for people around that person to talk and find out the reason why they're feeling low, why they're acting in a certain way, instead of being judgmental or stigmatizing their symptoms.
That's absolutely.
Because family support and support from friends and people at school can do wonders.
On that note, can I take a call? আসসালামু আলাইকুম দর্শক, পরিচয় কোনো মন্তব্য, কোনো প্রশ্ন, কথা বলুন, আমরা শুনি।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম ভাই, আমি শফিকুল বাংলা থেকে মাতরাম।
জি ভাই সাহেব।
I may talk about the mental health, depression and suffering in schizophrenia, like this kind of a disease.
জি।
From 27 to 48, one man, one boy, all the time hang around with Prime Minister, King, Queen, corresponded with them, and he living in the street and suffering about getting benefit, and all the time hang around with King, Queen. This is mental health problem, brother. This is mental health problem. Thank you, Bhaiya.
থ্যাংক ইউ শফিকুল ভাই, আপনি আপনার থিঙ্কিংটা শেয়ার করছেন আমরা লগে। আমরা আজকে মাত্রা মেন্টাল হেলথ, মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য সুস্থতা লইয়া, এবং তারা যদিও ইংলিশে মাত্রা, কিন্তু আপনারা বাংলায় হইতে পারবা, জিগাইতে পারবা, কোনো অসুবিধা নাই। 2 জন এখানে আছেন, তারা বাংলাও বুঝেন, সিলেটি মারতে পারবা। আমরা যে মানসিক স্বাস্থ্যটা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট বাঁচিয়া থাকার লাগিয়া, বিশেষ করে ইয়াং বাচ্চা, ইয়াং বা শুরুতে স্কুলের বাচ্চা থেকে শুরু করে ইউনিভার্সিটি পর্যন্ত সাফার করে বাচ্চায়, এবং এটা পড়ালেখা এফেক্ট হয়, তারা লাইফে এফেক্ট হয়, ঘুমও এফেক্ট হয়, চলাফেরাতে এফেক্ট হয়, ফ্রেন্ডশিপও এফেক্ট হয়, ফ্যামিলিতে এফেক্ট হয়। আমরা অনেক সময় শর্মাই, আমরা মাতি না, আমরা লজ্জা করি, আমরা মনে করি উইল নট ডিসকাস মেন্টাল হেলথ। এটা কিন্তু ডিসকাস করা আমরা দরকার, এই জিনিস জানা দরকার, সাহায্য নেওয়া দরকার। জলদি সাহায্য নিলে এটা কিন্তু হইব। শফিকুল ভাই, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ, আপনি ফোন করছেন। ফাহমিদা, ইফ আই কাম টু ইউ, আই মিন হু ক্যান স্পিক ইন সিলেটি? ক্যান ইউ স্পিক ইন? সো আমি যদি তোমার সিলেটিয়ে একটা জিনিস জিগাই ফাহমিদা, আমরা যারা বাবা মা যারা, তারা বা ফ্যামিলি এই জিনিসটা বুঝার লাগিয়া সিলেটি, আমরা যদিও ফারহানা মেনশন আর্লিয়ার অ্যাবাউট দ্যাট আর্লি হেল্প, বাট আমি ওটা চাইলাম যে তারা কিতা করতে পারে এখন তারা যদি বুঝো তারা বাচ্চায় একটা অন্যমনস্ক এ চাইল্ড ইজ গোয়িং থ্রু দিস সর্ট অফ ইস্যুস কিতা করতে পারেন
So after manene like ma baf thara kita hotaran. First of all thara
মানে সিলেটি কোনো অসুবিধা নাই
okay. So thara importance zano ma baf thara bachin to loga eta positive relationship rakhta zano bachin te thara ma baf for say as sakunda share so ochta baka important so I personally think horizano it's important zano ma baf thara all our relationship agtke banaya rakhta joy so yeah I think
this is what important something you mentioned very crucial because relationship সম্পর্ক বাহমার লগে এখন যদি বাহমারে ডরাইয়া যদি হয় না বাফটা হয় খামো খাজো আইয়া হারলে দেখা গেল বাচ্চার লগে মাতবার সবাই নাই বা বাচ্চারে খালি মনে করা যে স্কুলে দিছুন আনছইন আমি কইলাম না সবর কথা অনেক আসি না লট অফ আস প্রবাবলি সো এই জিনিসটা ক্লোজ রিলেশনশিপ হইলে তখন বাচ্চা ডিসক্লোজ করবো Do you agree with that?
Of course, I agree. And I think just to add on that, you know, our parents, they might be from first generation, second generation immigrants here. And it's important to ask your kids, you know, how are you? How was school? So, for example, when I was in primary school, I got bullied, but no one in my family knew I got bullied. And that resulted in me feeling quite low self-esteem. So it's really important that the parents now really actually talk about, you know, how their kids are feeling and what their friends are like. Ask about their, you know, their life outside of the house. Kids want to feel like they're wanted. And if you don't ask about their life, they're going to find that attention somewhere else. And that's what we don't want. We want, you know, that attention to come from the intimate place, which is the house. So it's really important to cultivate that positive relationship in the house first. Asking your kids how you are, helping them out, spending time with them. That's what would help with their mental health.
I have got a leaflet here I will share, and maybe, you know, if you know anything about mental health and well-being workshops. So it mentioned that, are you interested in learning about mental health well-being? Would you like to know how to maintain good mental well-being? And would you like to know more about local mental health well-being services? So this is very important for our people, isn't it? And there are workshops. Obviously, Farhana, you will mention more. On প্রিয় দর্শক আমরা এই যে ওয়ার্কশপগুলো জানার জন্য Thursday 26th September 2019 10:30 to 1 p.m. Tower Hamlets Community Housing Headquarters 285 Commercial Road Stepney 1E2PS. There is a special workshop, and 17th of October the same place 10:30 to 1 another workshop. Third workshop 21st of November Thursday 10:30 to 1 p.m. the same place. So এই যে ওয়ার্কশপগুলো হচ্ছে এগুলা কিন্তু আমাদের জন্য প্যারেন্টদের জন্য very important. The Bengali and English, they can give both support. Don't you think they're very important?
Very important. You're going to learn how to identify the signs and symptoms of someone struggling and also find different ways to support someone who's struggling as well. With that workshop, it's going to equip you to run more workshops in your local community, so then you would be able to increase or make mental health awareness more known in the Bangladeshi community. So it's very important. And just in addition to that, Inspirited Minds, the mental health charity organization, which predominantly works with the Muslim community, but we don't discriminate anyone who comes to us for support. We also run workshops in the community. We work with mosques and imams. We work with universities and schools. So I would like to encourage everyone in the community to actually sign up to the Inspirited Minds newsletter and check our website to find where the workshops are going to happen. And the aim of this is to raise awareness about mental health and get everyone to actually take actions in relation to how they can support one another, because at the end of the day we are one community. We need to help one another out to make it less of a problem, because it's a huge problem now.
Yes. And Shahjahan Ahmad, I know we were mentioning about where, you know, how to raise awareness. What do you think, as Farhana mentioned about imams, because, you know, Friday obviously we go to mosques. I mean, not all the time, obviously, we have other commitments within one time we can go there. But Imam gives khutbah. And this is a good lecture for the week about a lot of good things talked about. What about having a khutbah on mental health issues?
That's an interesting point.
I'm just suggesting something. People do suffer. I mean, how to look after yourself. You know, whether you're happy or sad, and how to help yourself.
So that's a very valid point. Especially imams and other community leaders, such
Yes.
as priests themselves, they have a lot of engagement with a
Absolutely.
whole range of age ranges. So it ranges from the very young all the way to the very old, and they're all seated within one venue, one spacing, and that's quite a very rare thing to do. And especially within the Islamic faith, where young and old all pray together, it's a special opportunity to open up to topics which are very sensitive within the community itself. And therefore, when fathers and their children hear about mental health, they're more inclined to talk about it with one another. They're more inclined to ask questions if the child doesn't know what the imam has actually said about, in terms of more complex ideas. And within the mosque itself, where it does touch different individuals from all factions of society, it's a very unique opportunity to talk about issues including mental health and other sensitive issues which the community tends to shy away from. And in doing so, we make it a more normative topic,
Yes.
something that we feel more comfortable about
Yes.
talking about, and that reduces its sort of nature of being stigmatized,
Yes.
and it reduces that effect.
And in the community, leaders and imams, people trust them very well, isn't it? And they can persuade people. People listen to them.
Yeah, there is an element of confidentiality, and you feel safe because you know the imam or the priest wouldn't share this. And generally, the imam or the priest or other community leaders have a wealth of knowledge and training on how to deal with different issues. So they're not just religious leaders. We tend to minimize their role. They have a whole plethora of skills, and we should use that. We should understand that they are equipped to deal with other issues aside from religious issues, and we can turn to them if we have personal problems.
Yes.
And we can be rest assured that they won't share this,
Right.
and it's all confidential.
Absolutely. Warisa Hussain, we're talking about the prevention, we're talking about the, how to catch early symptoms of mental health issues, and also who can provide the support. So in terms of prevention, what else can you do in order to tackle these mental health issues amongst particularly young people? Because education, what we are discussing, particularly those students, very young age, from age 4 to 25 or 24, whatever you can say, up to universities, people do suffer from mental health.
There are some lifestyle changes that one can
Lifestyle,
make.
very good.
And for a child, it's difficult for a child to make those changes. So it's for the parent to make sure that the child is getting a healthy, nutritious, balanced diet on regular meals. Instead of giving your child or teenager junk food for lunch or sugary food or
As
things
they are
that contain
widely available in the
yes,
market.
Yes, fizzy drinks and stuff, because they all add they add more problems rather than solving it, because hyperactivity is a direct connection with sugary foods. So healthy lifestyle choices, regular exercise, being housebound for children all the time doesn't help. And research shows that children who are not physically active are more prone to mental illnesses comparatively to those who are physically active or take regular exercises. Sleeping should be like normal in the sense that 8 hours sleep for a child
Minimum.
or a growing
9 hours for
growing
10 hours, they
individual to get enough sleep,
good sleep at
because lack
night.
of sleep also causes many problems. Diet, sleep, regular exercise, and a supportive environment at home. So it's important for the family to talk about whatever the child or the young person is going through, any stresses or anxiety or any, like you mentioned about symptoms, any change in behavior. So it could be something which is out of the norm or not direct side effects of some medication, something which has been part of that person for over 6 months. Any change of pattern in behavior, but that is a matter of concern, whether the child is shying away from things that he used to do normally, or not engaging with people, not engaging in activities that previously the child or the young person used to engage in. All of these things are
Very important.
Yeah.
Fahmida, if I come to you, I know we are talking about the prevention, solutions, support, and any kind of awareness we can raise within the community about mental health issues. But think about young people when they go home. They're always, I'm not saying always, a lot of them, they're using their tablet, they're using different kind of gadgets, and they're interacting, as you mentioned earlier about that. Only 100%, even they are not doing any kind of socialization. dad and mom, I'm not blaming them. They are provided at a very young age. They're using iPhone, they're using different kind of, how can you tackle that? Games.
That's actually quite a tough thing to tackle, because with parents now especially, they've started to find technology as an easy way for their children to like stop messing about. Like it's just become the easiest option for them to just give their children their phone or their tablet, and it's an easy way for them to just like not make the children kind of like annoy them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's quite a tough one to work on, to be honest. But it's something that the parents need to work on from the time when the children's like born, because it's so important that age,
very young age, they need to start.
Young age, parents need to really make sure they spend a good amount of time with their children, really building up that relationship rather than just handing them a phone. Because later
a passive
on,
way of doing babysitting or something like that.
So even babysitting even if it's someone else doing babysitting, even that's better than the parents giving children their phone, because first of all, the children are going to have such a negative relationship with their parents, and another thing is they're going to have such a negative relationship with the people around them. So it's better that they're at least around some people rather than them always being given a tab or something. So it's something that I think parents need to work on from the time children are born, because as being a parent as well, since the minute you give birth, your responsibility isn't just about yourself, it's about the kid as well. So you need to make sure that you start from the beginning.
Absolutely. We discuss about a lot of issues, causes, symptoms, support, prevention, and community help as well. Now we are coming toward the end of the program. Shahjahan Ahmed, I'll come to you as we discuss so many things. Okay, I would say, four of you, think about some golden rules. Some kind of, I'm thinking of something we can follow, some kind of very good advice, some kind of tips, you can give to the audience, those that are watching program tonight. Someone might take it, might not. What do you think, how to tackle that and how to support those people are suffering, they're vulnerable, suffering from mental health issues?
So just to echo what everyone has said here, and just to point out a few things. Yes, we do see behavioural changes and dietary changes as being a main thing. In terms of parenting itself, we can look at how we tackle that issue, how we can have technology breaks as well, which can be quite important, which also boosts the ability for a child to socialise and improves other soft skills, being able to talk as well, which kids lack. And individually, as a person, I think we should have an onus on ourselves to make sure that those around us are okay. And if there is a difference that we do see, whether it be physically or otherwise, then we do take an interest in finding out why that's changed.
Warisa Hussain, we're coming towards the end of the program. That's within 30 seconds. What are you going to tell or suggest to our viewers, those who are watching the program today, any kind of good tips, any kind of good advice?
Look after yourself, not just physically, but mentally, psychologically, emotionally as well, because a healthy mind is a healthy body.
Excellent.
And don't give up, never lose hope.
Fahmida
Help is
Hussain,
out there.
what would be your tips to the audience, those that are watching the program tonight?
I just want to say, if you're really struggling with something in life, don't be afraid to share with anyone, because you'll be surprised with how many people are actually there to help you.
Thank you very much. Fahana Malik, Outreach Manager, Inspirited Minds, would like to hear from you at the end. 30 seconds. What are you going to tell our viewers?
I would recommend that everyone goes to seek free help from the NHS. So go to your GP, and it's all confidential. They won't share anything that you talk about in the appointment. And take up the free therapy. It's really helpful.
Thank you very much to all four of you. Inshallah, we'll do this mental health program issues in the future as well, and we'll invite you, and you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time towards this particular topic. Thank you very much. প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা কথা বললাম, আমাদের টপিক ছিল মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড ওয়েলবিং, মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য এবং সুস্থতা। এই বিষয় নিয়ে আমরা কথা বললাম। আপনাদের ফোন করার জন্য ধন্যবাদ। বিশেষ করে আমাদের গেস্ট যারা শেয়ার করলো, ইয়াং স্টুডেন্ট থেকে একদম স্কুল স্টুডেন্ট থেকে ইউনিভার্সিটি স্টুডেন্ট পর্যন্ত তারা সাফার করতেছে বিভিন্ন মেন্টাল হেলথ ইস্যুতে। How we can tackle, they have given some ideas, some thoughts about that. তো আমরা আশা করব প্যারেন্টস যারা খেয়াল করবেন বাচ্চাদেরকে এবং সাহায্য করবেন, এই প্রত্যাশায় আমরা বিদায় নিচ্ছি। ভালো থাকবেন, সুন্দর থাকবেন।